did. When you was on the porch, you asked me did I live here. I said, yeah.
And you said, no, you don't.
Yo, so this Michelle Bishop situation real crazy. But you know the thing I peeped that ain't nobody talk about yet? Notice how she ain't apologized until after the video went viral, after she realized she was caught on video.
As a Black American, the scariest place to be in America is white people's imagination.
Hey besties, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into an urgent and important conversation, the concept of white women's tears and how these tears have historically and currently contributed to the harm and even deaths of Black people, especially Black men. This is going to be a thoughtful, honest, and extended discussion, so grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's unpack this together. Let's get started. Let's begin by defining what we mean by white women's tears. This term refers to the ways in which white women's displays of emotion, particularly crying, can derail conversations about accountability, shift focus to their own feelings, and even weaponize their vulnerability to perpetuate systemic racism. While emotions are natural and valid, these tears often have disproportionate consequences, especially when used in racially charged situations. Historically, these emotional displays have reinforced stereotypes, justified violence, and perpetuated systemic inequities. Now, let's discuss the recent viral video. In the footage, a Black man is seen pulling into his driveway after work. As he exits his car, he notices a white woman standing on his porch. The woman begins accusing him of threatening her, despite him being calm and clearly just arriving home. The Ring camera footage exposes the truth. There was no threat, no confrontation, just a baseless accusation rooted in racial bias. Imagine how this could have played out without video evidence. Police might have been called, and given the systemic bias in law enforcement, this innocent Black man's life could have been at risk. This video highlights how quickly white women's tears can escalate into life-threatening situations for Black men.
I did. When you was on the porch, you asked me did I live here. I said, yeah.
And you said, no, you don't.
Hey, Jeff here. You will have to forgive me, but this is extremely fucking triggering. Do you all see how she proceeded to have no shame in trying to lie in their face? She claimed she did not know he lived there, even though she asked him and he answered her. But she wasn't satisfied with his answer, and then had the audacity to ask them if they would forgive her for trying to cause harm to this man. Can you all just imagine if there was not a camera? How this man would have been vilified for going home, for simply existing. And you should have saw a fucking apology video. It was disgusting. People like her have no remorse for the harm they will cause to people like us. The only thing she is sorry about is that she did not succeed in what she was trying to do, which was to have a Black man unalive. She can take her apology and shove it. Yeah, I said what the fuck I said.
Yo, so this Michelle Bishop situation real crazy. But you know the thing I peeped that ain't nobody talk about yet? Notice how she ain't apologized until after the video went viral, after she realized she was caught on video. Shawty had no thought to apologize or admit that she was wrong until after she realized the internet was going to come for her. Once she realized she was going to be labeled a racist, which she absolutely is, that's when she want to start backtracking, boo-hooing, crying, and everything else. It's not even that she thought she was wrong, because I promise you she ain't think she was wrong. It's only the fact that she got caught in 4K, on video, being racist. Because you mean to tell me you sat at that man's house, rang his doorbell, and then when he pulled up in his driveway, you going to ask him if he lived there, and then turn around and be like, I don't think you do. Like, be so for real. Because if you ain't know that wasn't that man's house, then what you doing accusing him of being at the wrong house? Like, you don't even know whose house this is, obviously. Then go have the audacity to tell folks, well, you got to see it from my point of view, but still ain't apologized until after the fact. We not seeing nothing from your point of view, except for the fact that you were racist.
To fully understand the weight of white women's tears, we have to look at history. One of the most harrowing examples is the case of Emmett Till. In 1955, Carolyn Bryant, a white woman, accused 14-year-old Emmett, a black boy, of inappropriate behavior. Her accusation led to his brutal lynching. Decades later, she admitted her claims were false, but Emmett's life was already stolen. This wasn't an isolated incident. During the Jim Crow era, the narrative of the damsel in distress often painted white women as perpetual victims and black men as inherent threats. These dynamics justified countless acts of violence, from lynchings to incarcerations, leaving lasting scars on black communities.
As a black American, the scariest place to be in America is white people's imagination. I told y'all the story about how my neighbor saw me walking down the street. I don't even call her a neighbor. That's just the bitch that lived across the street. But I was walking down the street and I was coming back to my house from a walk. And I walked up my driveway to my door and I picked up a package. And this lady proceeds to come over here and start yelling and screaming at me that I didn't live here. And she kept threatening me to call the police, that she was going to call the police. And so I got in her face and I was like, call them, bitch. And then I turned around, unlocked my door, and walked in my house. And when the police came, she said that she called them because she was afraid, because she reacted poorly. She was afraid of what I was going to do with her, what I was going to do to her, because she had approached me on my property in my driveway, and she tried to disguise it as a simple mistake. And I thank God to this day, this was like 3 years ago, I thank God to this day that I had cameras put on the front of my house. That white lady trying to make it seem like she's not racist and, you know, she's all upset because those people won't accept her apology. Like, she's not a Karen, okay? And I want y'all to start properly naming these people. I want y'all to start properly insulting these people. That lady is not a Karen. She's a Carolyn, as in Carolyn Bryant. Because what could her white woman tears have done had that Ring camera not been there? And then for her husband to come over there and like basically say like, you know, oh, it was just like a simple mistake, or oh, let's just forget it. No, let's not forget it. Because she tried to say, well, I didn't know that you lived here. He told you that. And your response was, I don't believe you. You're standing on my porch telling me that you don't believe that I live here. That situation is all too familiar to me. The only difference is it happened to me. It didn't happen to my husband. It didn't happen to one of my black male children, which I'm always telling my older son, who is 15 years old, 6'4". I tell him all the time, you gotta be careful with these white people, because to them, you look like a suspect simply by existing. She knew what she was doing. She knew what she was doing, and she's on the internet crying about it because it did not work in her favor. She knew what she was doing. Her husband knew what she was doing. That man whose house it was, his wife knew what she was doing. And that's why she came outside. You save those goddamn tears. You cannot. I want people, and I know it's going to be hard considering who's getting sworn in as the president today and all of that. I know it's going to be hard for white people to step away from this idea of saying where black people should and should not live. But if those are the type of areas that you want to live in, go live there. They exist. But to be just out in a public place like that, that shit is crazy. And I'm going to say this, the wife is better than me because she sees all of this happening on the camera and she doesn't come outside until after the fact. Because me, if I would have seen that shit happening in real time, why the fuck are you on my porch? Who are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, straight up and down. And that story is crazy, but it's not, because it is a reality. There are so many Carolyns in this world. I live across the street from one. She was ready to lie on that man. And she was ready and willing to, whatever would have happened if them police came on that type of time, whatever would have happened, she would have been perfectly fine and slept perfectly good in her bed that night. And she probably still did. The only reason why she's upset right now is because she's getting the backlash that she's getting. Seriously.
Fast forward to today, and we still see examples of white women's tears causing harm. A prominent case is the Central Park incident in 2020. Amy Cooper, a white woman, called the police on Christian Cooper, a black man, falsely claiming she was being threatened. Her distress was performative, as the video clearly showed Christian calmly asking her to leash her dog. Yet her tears could have resulted in life-threatening consequences for Christian, given the history of police violence against black people. Beyond high-profile cases, These dynamics show up in everyday interactions. Whether it's in workplaces, schools, or public spaces, white women's tears often shift the focus away from systemic issues and onto their feelings, silencing marginalized voices in the process.
So, Miss Michelle Bishop, for those of you who are not familiar with that name, let me give you a little background. Michelle Bishop lives in Ohio. She took herself, her palmated self, and her 2 palmated children, and one was an infant. She walks up to this house, and she knocks on the door, and she asks this black man, does he live here? Yeah. She feels so threatened that she takes her children and she puts them in harm's way by walking up to an unknown door and asking an unknown man if he lives there. Then she proceeds to scream and run through the neighborhood like he's attacking her. Sound familiar? It's called the white women tears. The white women tears that lead to the mass murdering of black men. Yeah, she's took it upon herself that in 2025 she wants to continue this tradition of white women tears. Now, first of all, let's just look at this reasonably. Let's examine it. Why would you, feeling threatened, first of all, why would you be out at night with your children? Okay? And you got an infant, because one, you have a stroller. So you have an infant and a toddler. And you're out and about, and you're walking up to strangers' doors, knocking on the door as if you have the right to interrogate whoever is behind that door, and you drag your children along with it. You're so determined to criminalize a black man that you take your children out into the night and walk up on a stranger's door, which, had that door open, anything could have happened. After the door opened, rather, anything could have happened, and your children are standing right there. But you feel afraid. You feel threatened. You go to screaming and on the rampage, and then you want to come back on social media and cry, wipe your tears. Oh, you just so hurt because, yeah, maybe you overreacted. But to say that you are a racist just crushed your soul. Girl, you are outside of your circle talking this, so that's why people looking at you like you a damn fool. None of what you are trying to state, none of this cleanup you are trying to do makes any type of sense. None of it. None of this cleanup job you're doing making any sense, because your actions is telling everything we need to know. You took it upon yourself, with nobody with you, with no guard, no bodyguard, no male protection. You decided to take it upon your Susie set ass and walk out there and go up on a perfect stranger's property and have the audacity, or should I say the caucasity, to knock on that man's door, then accuse him of not being the owner of the door he opened. And then you take out to acting a plumb fool, screaming and hollering and like somebody's chasing you, trying to kill you. Then when you get called out for the shit, you want to come back and cry and say you may have overreacted. No, sweetie, you did that shit on purpose. You didn't overreact. You took it upon yourself to go over there and start shit you had nothing to do with. Instead of minding your own damn business, which was at the address that you live and not that man, you could have got that man killed. That's how black men get killed every freaking day from false ass white women tears. You work yourself up into a frenzy and nobody has done anything to you. You guys really should be on screen because you are the best fucking actors I've ever seen. You work yourself up into a complete panic and nobody has done one freaking thing to you. And then you want to come back and say, maybe you overreacted? You caused the situation. You initiated the situation. You orchestrated the situation. Now you want to cry? Palminated people and their internal sense of privilege is the cause of a lot of bullshit people endure. None of this was even necessary. Had she mind her own business, none of that would have happened. All of this is a direct reflection of her actions, and then she wants to tell people how to react to her actions. No, boo, you only get to do your actions. You don't get to tell people how to react to your actions. You are racist. You are a dangerous ass racist white woman. You are a descendant of your ancestors. Women like you got Rosewood burnt down, citizens killed, women raped, children murdered. Women like you got Emmett Till killed, beating to death, hung, tortured. You and your white tears, your descendants did that. I mean, your ancestors did that. And you called on your ancestors to go out here and walk up. What even possessed you to go up to that man's property? He wasn't even outside. You had to go in there and pull him out into this bullshit, and now you want to cry? Girl, you can take them tears and you can suck them jokers back up, because they are just as false and fake and phony as your fucking ass is. You ain't sorry. You just sorry this shit done blew up. But you ain't sorry for what you did. You ain't sorry for what you did. You sorry that your ass done got humiliated. You done got called out. Keep your little fucking ass tears. They mean nothing. Look at me. They mean nothing. They mean nothing to us. Except for murder. We know that. We know what they've caused. And that's why we're looking at you the way we are. Because you know what they caused. And you went out there and did it anyway. You went out there and put an innocent person's life into jeopardy just to satisfy your what? Your privilege? Your prejudice because you didn't think a black man belonged in this prestigious neighborhood? But you're not prejudiced. You're not racist. Bitch, please. You can never out-talk your actions. You can jaw-jack all day long, but your actions will speak where your words fail. And you sit up there. You planned it. You contemplated that. You orchestrated that. And then you went up there and then you made it even worse by trying to turn that man into a violent criminal. And you got your children out here. Y'all tell me that shit makes any kind of sense. Why would you do all of that if you felt so threatened? Why would you take your children? So you're going to put your children in harm's way? You want your children to feel threatened too? I bet you scared the shit out that daughter of yours. I bet she was running for her fucking life because she was going off of mom. What children don't? What children don't follow their parents' lead? You can keep them fake ass tears. If you cannot stand the heat, stay your stinking ass out the kitchen. Okay? Because no one told you to do this. You took it upon yourself to do it, folks. So whatever comes from it, bitch, you need to sit up there and eat it. Eat it. Just like you were planning for that black man to eat it. You are no better than anybody else. So I hope this haunts you the rest of your life. Everybody know her, recognize her, okay?
Let's talk about the toll this takes on Black communities. Imagine constantly having to navigate spaces where your presence is seen as a threat, no matter how innocuous your actions. For Black men, this reality comes with a constant fear of being falsely accused and the knowledge that these accusations can escalate rapidly. Beyond the individual impact, this behavior reinforces systemic racism. It diverts attention from meaningful conversations about equity and justice, centering white women's feelings instead. The emotional labor required to counteract these narratives is exhausting, and it's a burden that Black communities shouldn't have to bear. So, besties, how do we move forward? If you're someone who benefits from these dynamics, here are some steps you can take to be part of the solution. Acknowledge privilege. Recognize how societal structures amplify and validate your emotions, often at the expense of others. Pause before reacting. If you feel emotional in a racially charged situation, take a moment to reflect before responding. Educate yourself. Dive into books, documentaries, and resources about racial dynamics and systemic oppression. Listen and learn. When Black people share their experiences, center their voices and perspectives without making it about your feelings. Speak up. If you witness this behavior, call it out. Silence perpetuates harm.
If you are a white woman and you are dating, in love with, married to a Black man, I want you to listen up. There are certain things that you need to know. And I don't think this is spoke about enough. But the most dangerous thing in this world are the tears of a white woman. And if you truly love the Black man that you are with, you need to know that you need to have his back and protect him at all costs, including protecting him from yourself. And what do I mean by that? My son was dating a white woman. My son is biracial. They got into an argument in public, and she started to scream and cry. And my son immediately left the scene. She was outraged. She couldn't believe my son left. My son left because my son knew that if he stayed there and this woman was crying and screaming at him, a Black man, there was not going to be any questions asked. He was going to be thrown to the ground. He was going to go to jail. It was not going to be any questions asked because this white woman was crying and screaming about him. Now, I'm sure this female may have been hurt. Her feelings was hurt. She was a little emotional. However, when you are dating a Black man and you're a white woman, you need to understand that sometimes your fucking feelings and your emotions have to take a fucking back seat to not cause harm to the person you are dating, that you love, that you are married to. And I'm not telling you that if you are truly in fucking danger, not to get help. But if you're just emotional, you're just pissed off, and you want to scream and hoop and holler, in public is not the time. Because that can turn out very deadly for the Black man that you claim to love so much, whether you realize it or not. If you were just dating a white man and you were yelling, nobody would really pay any attention to that shit. But when people see a white woman and a Black man and you're screaming, all hell will break loose. Because when white women cry, everybody responds. Even if the shit is stupid, even if it's frivolous, even if it's a lie. The most deadliest thing in this world are white women tears. I have said this time and time again. And I learned this very, very early in life. I grew up in the projects. I was raised by two wonderful black women that helped my mother raise me. So I know what I have witnessed, what I have experienced, and I know for a fact of what I speak. I learned very early in life that I could be a voice for my friends and my family because people would listen to me far more than they would listen to them. And if you listen to anything I have ever said to you on this app, if you are a white woman and you are dating a black man, you are in love with a black man, you are married to a black man, you need to know that you need to have his back and protect him at all costs, even if it is protecting him from you. Handle that shit at home if you are not in danger.
All right, besties, that's our deep dive into white women's tears, the viral Ring camera video, and the broader implications of these dynamics. This is a tough but necessary conversation, and I'm so grateful we're having it together. Let's keep the discussion going in the comments. Remember to keep it respectful and thoughtful. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this video to spread awareness. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Adios, besties.